Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grand Prix before the Grand Prix. You're watching Sim Experience South Africa Formula 1 Saturdays. I'm your commentator, Jan Karinas, and I'll be running you through today's action here at the very distinctly non-European Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Apologies for the incorrect footage on screen, but I can confirm that we are racing in the Wild West this week, not the Middle East. Being this far out west, it is only natural that the track runs anti-clockwise, similar to America's very popular IndyCar and NASCAR series. And Herman Zulke has also had an influence over this track, so expect some of the track to look a little bit like Silverstone's Beckett's Chapel sequence, Hockenheim's Arena Bends, and Istanbul Park's Diabolica, turn number 8. Kota itself spans 5.513 kilometers over the course of a whopping 20 corners. 2 DRS zones will provide the drivers with some good overtaking opportunities as they get a small rest from this roller coaster of a racetrack. With the mind games already sparking up in the real world, drivers expect our sim racers to follow suit. There was only a handful of races left to go and everything to fight for. And here we are. Not under the lights of Bahrain, that is going to be next week, but we are under the sun, and it is the sunny skies of Austin, Texas. Welcome to the Circuit of the Americas, COTA for short, and it is an absolutely beautiful day for some racing here with the Formula 1 cars. And we have 8 drivers out on the track with us, so some of the most dedicated drivers out there, so we're definitely looking forward to seeing what they can accomplish. Looking at the track map, it is a pity that Americans do not like to name the turns on their circuit, but there you can see we've got 20 turns, 20th turn leading onto the pit straight, as Macbeth shows us how to bring the end of a Formula 1 car around, somehow overriding the grip that the car has available. Looking at our weather, so let's see, that may be a slight reason why. So 29 degrees Celsius air temperature, that is on the warmer side, we are in Texas. Track temperature 38 degrees Celsius, that is bordering on the warmer side of things. So that might be why the tires are maybe deciding to let go a little bit. As it is customary, we're running at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Fortunately, I do not have league standings that I can show to you on screen, but I do have some things that I can read to you off screen. So after round number 5, we've got Marius Skuman sitting up pretty in front with 86 points. Corne Breed following behind with a very consistent performance up to 73 points. Raymond Duggan 63 points. Dennis Mitchell 50. Gideon Jonkers 45. Gerard Pretorius, 42. And then Gerard Snyman in 7th position. He's sitting there with 28 points. Philip Menard, 27. Joshua van Rensburg, also 27 points. And then Jason Macbeth in position number 10 with 26 points. After him, it's Dirk Bruns in position 11, 25 points. Robin Riefer, 24 points, position 12. Then we've got Jude Stewart, unlucky position 13, but he's definitely put himself well ahead of Alistair Barnard in position 14, Piet van Rensburg, position 15, Gijsbert Atinagel, position 16, René de Plooy, 17, John Stewart, 18, Willem Steyn, 19, and Michel Patrizzi with 20th position there in the championship. So things are still quite lively out there in the front and also in the middle of the pack in terms of what we have available for the championship. And it's going to be exciting. It's a bit of a different track, this one. From my days in iRacing, I kind of know the track as an endurance racing track, but they really made some attempts as of late to really get NASCAR and IndyCar involved with this, but unfortunately, due to the whole COVID situation and how everything's worked, I think that partnership hasn't worked out as well. And here in some of the stands maybe don't look as full as you would normally expect them to be. By the way, if you want to see if you can spot something special, there is is a 66 meter high observation tower that kind of sits near the concerting ground. So if you can see that from the drivers as they speed past, I'm not going to disclose its location on track, though it's something that you can maybe try and see whether you can spot it. Jonkers here going past the pit entrance lane there at the start finish straight and practicing his exit as he starts another lap up the hill towards that blind turn number 1. And this is kind of the one thing some drivers in the real world were maybe not as impressed with. They really tried to hype up that first corner, and it's maybe not everyone's cup of tea. It's interesting, but maybe not the type of hype that was surrounding it. But it's still it's a fun driver circuit. There's a lot happening over the course of a single lap. I mean, 20 corners, that is quite the thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what these drivers make with it. Just quickly taking a second to look at the YouTube chat. It's been a while, so I need to get my racing layouts fixed. So massive welcome to Sharon Skuman, saying good evening everyone, good luck of course to her husband, Mario Skuman. Then we've got Axel Computer Services, that's Dennis Mitchell, that's hiding behind that name, also saying good luck everyone, challenging track, but definitely should be entertaining, I agree. It's always fun to see the cars go around and lots of overtaking opportunities. So definitely something to look out for. Kevin Jonkers has kept it nice and consistent as we've been watching him, but I think we'll relieve him of the pressure and we're going to go to his teammate Jude Stewart while he makes his way around the track. Some German flags there in the stand. I think it's German. Always tricky trying to figure out whether it's a Belgian or a German flag. They're saying it's the longest 5 minutes ever. I do apologize. Yeah, I had a few quirks to sort out on my side. I've been doing a lot of commentating in iRacing, and it's been a bit of a short while since I've been in the Assetto Corsa, but it's nice to be back. And of course, these cars not available anywhere else, and it's just a little bit different and something else to see these cars out on track. The audio is amazing, the visuals. I mean, these cars are always going to be beautiful. Thankfully, it's not the season where we had those cars that I would have had to censor. Otherwise, it definitely wouldn't have been YouTube friendly. Yeah, it's nice to be back. Just also quickly getting a few things still sorted out. There we go. Okay, so 6.5 minutes left of practice. All the drivers making good use of it. Gerard Pretorius best lap of 3 minutes 34.184 seconds. That is quite the lap. Looking at the record that's currently being held by Charles Leclerc, that's a 136.169. That was in the 2019 United States Grand Prix. Of course, these being the 2020 cars. And with the sim race, weather might be a bit more ideal, and there are going to be some physics that might make it a bit easier to drive in sim, especially if you think about the availability of DRS, how the whole hybrid system works. So, still very impressive though. If you think that the Charles Leclerc's time is only good enough to put him fourth on this leaderboard. So actually some very fast times from these drivers. Then Jason Beth in second position. So all of them on the C4 compound. Definitely making good use of it. Raymond Duggan first driver on anything that is not a C4, so some of the drivers definitely agreeing that those tires are the absolute bomb. I do apologize if you have to drag me out of the broadcasting booth because of that joke, but I'm having a little bit of fun here. So, yeah, prepping for qualifying. Just going to quickly see if we can find someone to maybe go on board with. And Morris Kuman is just going to start the lap, so I received a few WhatsApp messages for me. I don't know how you are actually finding the time to talk to me, so we're going to make sure that you're racing on track at the moment. You can see that first corner being extremely tricky. Now through, and this is the section that I assume is what they were referring to when they were saying that some of it is kind of based off Silverstone's Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. And you can see it's very difficult for the driver to really manage the throttle through there. I can definitely see which turn is based off Diabolica. Fortunately not as familiar with Hockenheim to see where that influence comes in. And down that first straight, I think Morris not entirely happy with how that lap went. So we're going to jump to Theo Yorker, who's on exactly the same bit of the lap. So down the back straight we go, sticking with him. And just absolute run all the way down to the end, and then some hard braking zones. Possible opportunity for overtakes. Again, it's kind of a bit of a broken rhythm through all these turns. And now, this is that multi-apex corner that I've been alluding to, that the kind of mirror of Diabolica, and even to turn 3 at Sochi. So, very tricky corner, high speed, multiple apexes. You need to keep your head on your shoulders for it. Definitely not one of the most boring laps from a driver's perspective. So I've actually had a few drivers ask me about the overlays that we ran a short while back, and unfortunately, thankfully we're not getting the problem anymore, but we did have some stability issues with how Assetto Corsa's apps were being run, and we had to kind of really slim everything down, cut everything down to the bare minimum, to just make sure that we don't get streams that are interrupted. So unfortunately, that layout that we ran has suffered due to that, but I'd rather have your attention for a longer period than maybe have too many pretty things on screen. Also, if you do want to get involved with this league, and there are some really dedicated drivers, also a few new things in the pipeline. Discord description is in the link below, and you can join there, get involved. Very friendly South African drivers, so definitely jump in there if you are keen and you know your way around a sim racing rig. If you don't know your way around, there will still be guys to help you out with that. Alright, practice, 1 minute left. Wow, Theon definitely getting his time worth on the screen while I'm just talking absolute nonsense. That being said, we had an endurance race the other day, and actually ended up trying to explain the concept of Boerenworst to some European commentators. I don't think it worked out well, so it's sometimes it does get a bit weird in the booth when you're trying to figure out a few things to talk about. It's a bit of a pity, because with this track and the time zone it currently sits in, we haven't had qualifying yet for the real race, so we're still waiting for that 11 o'clock time slot for the qualifying to run around. So this is actually going to be the first Formula 1 qualifying of the week that I will be seeing at Circuit of the Americas. Morris Kuman going into the pits, preparing himself for the qualifying session to come. Leon Yogurt still making his way around. Raymond Duggan getting those C3 tires warmed up and ready. Maybe practicing his race pace a little bit more. The car being very squirrely in the last few corners, and he's done well to keep hold of it. Absolutely beautiful car, that's those Alfa Tauris. Looking at the rest of the people in the server, Conrad Briet is kind of lurking in there. We'll see if he is actually taking part in the race. Would be a shame if he doesn't, because he has been with us from the very start. I do apologize. I think I might have made a mistake with how I read the timing software. We'll see. We'll see when the qualifying starts who is going to be on the grid. Also, big welcome to Robert Majors. He's definitely looking to join, so welcome to you in advance. Looking forward to possibly seeing you on stream, so we'll keep an eye out for you. And then also a big welcome to Jenny Lee Moss. Shouting, there you go, Rob. Yeah, I'll quickly send you to an ad break and be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we have just started with qualifying. So the drivers are out on the track, and I am very happy to say that we actually have Corne Breed with us in the server. Even better, he is lining up at the front of the grid, ready to get going. So we'll be keeping an eye on him as qualifying gets underway. So Corne Breed lining up with the C4 tires, the soft tires. Bit uncharacteristic of him. He's been running the harder compounds all season. So interesting choice from him. Also interesting choice of tire warm-up strategy. Drifting a little bit and probably not intentional, but would be a really interesting strategy were it the case. So first time this season that we have crossed the ocean to the Americas. Definitely looking forward to this race. So right, Last corner onto the main straight, so Conrad Britt is going to take us away with a lap around the circuit of the Americas. Also closely followed by Raymond Duggan behind him, his teammate. So we've got the two Alpha Tauris starting out the lap already very deep into the first corner there. So very slow start there for Conrad Britt, and he is going to make way for Raymond Duggan, which means we're going to jump over as Raymond starts getting going through the sequence of back and forth corners there, through the S's. Absolutely pushing the limit of this car as he's finishing off with sector number 1. He's now moving on to the rest of the circuit. Duggan definitely a driver to be contended with. Absolutely flying at the moment. In the background, one of the Aston Martins, absolutely beautiful with the backdrop of the track behind them. It's now into the trickier low speed portion of the track. Duggan just keeping the car nice and squeezed to the apex. This has probably been one of the more difficult tracks to exercise just due to the sheer number of corners they have available. If you think about the length of lap or the course of the lap that you're running this across, there's a lot of opportunity to lose time. So drivers that did prepare adequately will definitely be rewarded here with some very good times. So you won't be able to see it, but I'm also not going to be able to see it, so we'll have to wait for the timing screens to update accordingly. I think that time for Raymond Duggan might have been discarded. I think he ran wide of some track limits through the S's. That is why that previous time did not register. Gerard Pretorius, unfortunately not on a fast lap. Or, sorry, just looked a little bit slow. So Gerard Pretorius on the run up the hill for a fast lap, and he is closely followed by his teammate Maurice Skuman behind him. So teammates kind of sticking together in this qualifying run there in the background. Maurice Skuman and Pretorius definitely adhering a bit more to the track limits through those S's than Raymond Duggan did. It all depends on what the computer says is okay. Pretorius also running a bit wide of some of the apexes, so maybe not as comfortable with the lap as he would want to be. Small lock up there, nothing major, but definitely shows that he is absolutely fighting the car out there. These are definitely difficult cars to drive. It's also very difficult in the simulator to run with these things, just due to the sheer speed that you are running them at. In fact, that you don't have that seat of the pants feel. So it's not as easy to feel when those rear tires start slipping out under throttle. So that issue just compounded due to the nature of this whole thing. First time on the board, Jason Macbeth with a 1:34.708. That's already very fast. I expect some other times to closely follow suit as we get along. So there we go. And Gerard Pretorius is going to make a massive jump from his current position into 4th position with a second improvement as he comes across the line. So fighting with a car, but definitely getting his money's worth. Looking at the rest of the track, if I can get the cameras to switch, Raymond Duggan getting started with another lap, although that might be his out lap. Just quickly looking, a bit of a new name, Casey Enzer Smith. So Casey is one of the new names here. He's running the Iceman's number 7 Alfa Romeo, and definitely getting acquainted there with turn number 1, a bit of a tricky one. And he's going to fall in behind and see what he can learn from the other drivers on track as they get going. Unfortunately, in the pits, Gijsbert Attinagel. John Stewart out in track. And the number 47 Haas, that is Mick Schumacher's car. If you haven't watched it, there's a very interesting documentary out on Netflix about his father, Michael Schumacher. So definitely do give that a watch if that's your kind of thing. For now, we've got our entertainment right here. So John Stewart making his way around the track, not finding as much of the time as he would want. But again, this is one of those tracks where a bad exit at one corner can lead into a really large loss of time, especially that corner at the right top. And you can see one of the drivers just coming around. John Stewart unfortunately losing the rear of the car there and meeting the barrier. Jason Macbeth starting out with another lap, so absolutely flying at the moment. Closest drivers to really have a shot at doing something past his time is going to be Maurice Schoeman. So he is running 2/10 in hand, and he's got one massive straight ahead of him. So if he nails the exit, which he seems to have done, he's going to be finding a huge amount of time. And there you can see at the time, well, not as much as I would have predicted, but definitely holding on to that 2/10 that he had before. So now into the third sector of the track. This is going to be the make or break point. And do you expect the time delta there in the bottom right hand corner to kind of go all over the place? Just wait for that second to last corner, that penultimate corner, to see what he's actually managed through this section. So he is sitting at 1:34.904. Time to beat is 1:34.708, and he is looking quite good at the moment. He's avoided commentator's curse, so hopefully this lap is valid, and he's going to jump into second position. Had to save that corner exit there at the last moment, costing him about a 10th, and that is so close within his grasp. Only 6/1000ths of a second between himself and Macbeth, so very close competition there out in front. Taking a bit of a look at the rest of the drivers on track. Sean Willefear, a driver that we've kind of seen a bit more present in races like the MX5 series that we just concluded a few weeks ago. He's now running here in one of the Aston Martins. Absolutely beautiful livery. I think that number 5, that is Sebastian Vettel's number 5. I have to double check myself because that would be an absolute shame. I got that wrong. So unfortunately not finding the time. I had an inkling of a good lap when I jumped to him, but these things do change quite quickly. I can confirm that Sebastian Vettel is number 5, so absolute star of a driver's car to be in. Ooh, and unfortunately one of the Haas cars acting a bit closer to their namesake that they would like. Jason Macbeth fighting to get away from Schoeman there, so Schoeman also out on track yet again. I think he's busy with a bit of an exploratory lap at the moment. Macbeth also not finding the time yet. It's all down to that last corner. But finding that much time, more than 2/10 in one corner, if you're already that fast, is maybe not going to be as possible. So Maurice Schoeman right on the bubble here with the new lap as he gets going through the S's and very close to his time. But this is not where he lost his time previously. It is the last corner. So we'll stick with him a little bit and see how he gets along. So you just see how blind it is as you go up the uphill through those S's into the hairpin at the start of the back straight, and finally the track opens up a little bit. One of the Ferrari drivers there keeping out of the way. I think that was Kilian Jonkers giving Schoeman quite a bit of space, giving him his time to shine. And now into the tricky third sector of the track, and this is where Schoeman is going to be keeping an eye on things. Unfortunately, does seem to be slowing down substantially. Possibly charging up the car for a fast lap. So yeah, definitely charging up the car to have a bit of a faster lap on the next run around. So we'll still stick with him as the rest of the drivers currently struggle a bit with their times out on track. 7 minutes 40 seconds left of qualifying, and it is quite the battle for that first position as Maurice Kuman starts another flying lap. We'll be keeping an eye to see what he's able to manage in comparison to Jason Macbeth. You can hear Maurice managing the throttle, nursing it, and now finding the rhythm through the S's. Very tricky portion of the circuit, considering that your steering wheel is blocking a lot of your view at the time that you're getting through there. Maurice making it through safely. Now has to navigate the hairpin and is onto the back straight. He might be able to get a tow here from the house car in front of him, if he is close enough. And now into the third sector. This is where he definitely doesn't want any dirty air washing over the car. And I think luck is just against him at the moment. And he is definitely losing time here. So unfortunately, not what Skuman was looking for as he went out on track. Looking further down the field, so Conrad Briet lining up for another lap. That was very slow, but he has optimized the exit for the straight quite well, already finding 2/10 at the end of the straight. Fortunately, the back end of the car not agreeing with him, and I think that braking zone up the hill is just going to be very tricky through the entire duration of the race for all of the drivers involved. Looking around a little bit more, someone we've not seen too much of, Jude Stewart, 7/10 in hand. I might have come to him at the wrong time. You always feel guilty as a commentator jumping to someone where they're on a lap like this, but for now we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, Jude, and see what you've got in store for us. So now just lining up the car for Diabolica. Well, I say Diabolica, it's not actually Diabolica, but it's a very accurate replica of that corner from Turkey. This time you're just running it the other way around. Now 2 corners left here for young John Stewart. And Gerard Pretorius jumping into first position, sneaking past Macbeth there. And young Stewart here is going to come across the line. I'm not exactly sure what happened to the time there, but he is going to secure his 10th position with a bit of an improvement. I think he might have had his lap deleted. It's always so difficult to see with these overlays. Pat Pretorius still finding some time, so it's really getting the rhythm of this track down. We've got 4 minutes 20 seconds left of qualifying. Bit of a lock up there for Pretorius, and he's still finding the time onto the back straight. Now 3.5 tenths in the hand. So we'll see whether he can carry this through sector 3. Lots of turns to navigate here with the car. Lots of time to be lost. So we'll see how he carries on through here. But most definitely is going to try and find an answer for the time that was set there by Pretorius. But this might be a front grid row secured for the Alpine team. And now 2 corners left. All down to this last corner. Delta timer is going all across the board at the moment. I don't think we can rely on that anymore. Angel Smith still out on track, last sector of the track, and seems to be getting the hang of things a little bit more. It's a difficult car and maybe not the easiest track to get started on with these cars. Definitely one of the more driver-focused tracks, so expect the overtaking to kind of be dominated by mistakes made by drivers in the corners. If you miss an apex, if you run deep into a corner, that's going to have someone right on the rear of your car and could cost you a few positions. Enzo Smith making a good improvement there, getting into the 139s. Pretorius still making his way around. And Corne Briet into third sector is making some good headway. So we'll keep an eye out for him there and see what he's able to do. Also, if you're supporting some of your favorite drivers there on the YouTube channel, please do feel free to send a shout out and we'll see if we can get to it. Man, that definitely looks like he could use a bit of a shout out right now. Is going to be Conrad Britt as he comes across the line, finding 6/10 in hand. Unfortunately, it's not going to get him anywhere, but that is securing sixth position quite nicely for himself. Not exactly sure why that didn't pop up on the timing screen. Possibly another invalidated lap. You don't always see on the Delta timer that the lap has been invalidated, so it's maybe a little bit difficult to see that. Parapeter is still setting up for another lap. And then Jason Macbeth not able to find an answer. He's had an absolute flyer of a lap for that 134.554, and Pretoria is just able to squeeze past them. Skuman also not able to get a similar lap in his session. So 50 seconds left of the session. If you're not already out on track, this is not going to be your time to go around again. So Stuart, Van der Jeffer and Enzo Smith all out of this round. Well, I say out of this round, done with qualifying. So it's now up to the drivers out on track. Morris Kuman is now a man on a mission here, and as he goes into the third sector, there's going to be everything to fight for. Unfortunately, that is not going to be it. A huge lockup going into the corner, and that's... He's been able to combat that, and his times have been going up and down through the sector. So on the cusp of it, clock has ticked out, so qualifying is officially over. I think Skuman was not happy with that lap. I'm not sure why he bailed out of that one. Conor Breed not with a particularly fast lap at the moment. Jason Macbeth right on the cusp of it. And the other drivers already in the pit. Conor Breed jumping to the pits. Jude Stewart finding 4/10. Hopefully that is not deleted lap, and he's going to keep well within track limits. Coming across the line, 4/10 in hand, but he's still going to sit there in 7th position. Sean Willifie, 4/10 or 3/10 in hand, and ooh, that is a bit of a drift there for the driver in the Sebastian Vettel car. And Atin Nalko with lucky number 9, Mazepin's Haas. And he's going to come across the line and stay in position 9, just 3 1,000ths away from Willifie. So there's going to be a battle as they get going with the lap. I'm going to send you to a quick ad break as we prepare the grid for the drivers, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the grid with the drivers, and right in front of you, Gerrit Pretorius lined up on pole. To his left, we've got Jason Macbeth. He's well positioned for a good run into turn 1 if he's going to be challenging him. Then third on the grid, Gideon Jonkers, they're behind the Alpine. Marius Skuman in 4th position, also nicely positioned there on the inside line. Then we've got Corne Breed, Raymond Duggan, Jude Stewart, Sean Wildevier, Atti Nagel, Rob van Heerfer, Enzor Smit. And the race director has given us all of the lights. So, lights out and a very good start. Unfortunately, Boris Kuman stationary on the grid. That's caused a collision right from the get-go. We've got the 2 Ferraris right behind his teammate. So, Pretorius, unfortunately, off the racing track. Lots of things happening this early in the race. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Jason Macbeth diving into 1st position, so he's going to have one massive gap ahead of him. Conrad Beert into 2nd. He's going to say thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's going to be a very rough start for the 2 Alpine drivers. So Gerrit Pretorius down into 3rd. Jude Stewart already knocking at the door behind him. That's Macbeth off the line. Pretorius very distracted and still keeping in 3rd position. So now we've got Brett out in front, and Jude Stewart is giving him a run for his money. On the inside, Jude Stewart absolutely sending it and positioning himself for the run down the back straight. Massive collision there, and that is between, I think, Wildevier and Macbeth, unfortunately. Now, Breert under pressure here from Pretorius. Pretorius narrowly missing Jude Stewart there in front. And I think that was Duggan being cut off at the apex. Lots of things happening here at the start of the race. Now, Gideon Jonkers challenging Breert as we go along. But further behind, Gerrit Pretorius under pressure by Duggan. Duggan getting very close to the rear of that car. I'm not sure how they did not make contact as the drivers go on through. Duggan, unfortunately, losing out to Stewart, now battling it out there against the position. Side by side, Stewart trying to get some move on the inside, doesn't want to chance it, and falls behind Duggan for the start of the lap. Lots of chaos as we get going with the 2nd lap of the race. And I'm already struggling with my voice. On the run down to turn number 1, we've got the 2 Haas cars right by one another. Stewart and Atti Nagel are some of the closer drivers out on track. Sean Wildevier enjoying a battle here with Macbeth as they get going with the S's section. Wildevier finding some huge amount of time. Macbeth, unfortunately, just making his car nice and wide out on the track. The 2 Huskars also battling it out as Stewart and Atti Nagel are running behind one another through the hairpin at the start of the back straight. And there they go, just behind one another on the run down to sector number 3. Now, side by side action for you here. Atti diving on the inside, trying to get the move done. Definitely has the space. The 2 teammates steer clear of one another. Definitely not wanting to chance a collision. Meanwhile, out in front, Jude Stewart not comfortably running away with it, but very happy in 1st position with Corne Breert 8/10 behind him, and his Ferrari teammate Jonkers also looking at a chance there on Corne Breert. So one small mistake, and that is going to be it for Mr. Breert. You can see that rear end of the car still struggling as the C3 compounds start warming up. Now up on the inside for turn number 1. And Breert is going to be able to make it work. It almost seemed like Stewart disappeared off the track there for a moment. And I think Stewart trying to run the safer line there, avoiding the driver, not comfortable running too wide through that turn number 1. Massive drift there from the back end of Breert, and that could cost him a position. And there Stewart goes sailing past him. Breert now stuck on the outside. He might have Jonkers to deal with as well. And there's contact between Gerrit Pretorius and Corne Breert. Pretorius, unfortunately, into the wall there. That's a bit of a rough one. And we've got already some lapped cars there. So we've got the 2 AlphaTauris. Sorry, not the 2 AlphaTauris. I think I might have gotten confused there. So Corne Breert and yeah, that is Duggan off in the distance. So Breert, unfortunately, losing out a little bit due to that contact right there. Apologize, we're definitely not lapping cars in the third lap, but already a bit of a rough start for all drivers involved. Meanwhile, Jude Stewart driving away from the chaos. You can see all the drivers there into that third sector except for Enzo Smith, who's unfortunately had a bit of a rough start to the race. But Bev already working his way up through the pack. He had a bit of a rough lap number 1. He's already worked his way up into 5th position. Lots of chaos all the way around the grid. I think he might have been able to benefit from that chaos. Graham Brett running wide off the track yet again. Wondering whether that C3 tyre is the proper choice here, but Conrad is going to try and position himself on the inside. Possibly intimidate Macbeth, and unfortunately our cameraman is not well placed for this battle. We have lost touch with Brett. Brett, unfortunately, another mistake there into turn number 1. I think he got himself alienated off the racing line and found himself back in 7th position. This is a bit of a rough one for him. So he is definitely going to have to start working on getting his head sorted out for that. The two Ferraris, Jude Stewart and Gideon Jonkers, battling out. Jonkers sending it up the inside through the hairpin at the back straight, and he is going to charge on the head, but they definitely can't afford a battle as they've got Duggan right behind them. Unfortunately, some technical difficulties there for Maurice Kuman, and I think that is what happened there at the race start. Some peripherals or pedals not really connecting with the computer. That's always a bit of a shame to see. So unfortunately, he's had to retire the car. But awesome showing in qualifying there for Skuman. Now we've got the two Ferraris here. This is a good opportunity for them. Some of the heavy hitters out of the race at the moment, or out of contention, and they now need to really start opening up that gap from the cars behind them. Raven Duggan definitely not wanting to let them go. You can just see how difficult the Halo makes it, this track with the cars. Absolutely blind entry into the first corner there. You can see how Brett was able to really secure his position there up the inside, but you do need to trust the drivers around you quite a bit to be able to do that. But yeah, with these cars, it's so difficult to see the opposing cars around you. And Duggan is showing us through the SS section how important it is to manage the throttle on a heavier fuel load. Looking at the tyre strategy, so Gideon Jonkers on the C3, Raymond Duggan on the C3. So Jude Stewart possibly has to pit a little bit earlier depending on how he manages his tyres. Then Carapenter is in position 4, also on the C4. For Brett, characteristically C3 tyre on a 5th position, and then it's a bit of a mix all the way around. Nothing lower than a C3 though. So it might be that the softer tyre is actually not wearing as much as you would expect, and it might be counting in favor of those drivers who started out on it, but they are going to have to switch around for the compounds. So Raymond Duggan still keeping in touch here with Jude Stewart, but Gideon Jonkers is opening up a massive gap there to the rest of the pack. Now 2 seconds between himself and young Stewart, and he is going to be absolutely fighting for it. A bit further down the pack, looking at whether we have some action going on. Duggan unfortunately making a mistake, getting a bit of a slow exit, so that's opened up the door for Gerard Pretorius, who's now back at the front after a bit of a rough 6 laps at the start. Ooh, and speaking of rough starts, that is Duggan losing the rear of the car. We spoke about it being a driver's circuit, absolute challenge for the drivers, and this is just going to show. Oh, and that is one of the Alfa Romeos. I'm not exactly sure whose Alfa Romeo that was. We know Duggan is dropping down the standings quite a bit. So lots of drivers finding the limits of the cars, and unfortunately finding it a little bit too late, as the track shows just how much of a roller coaster it is. Unfortunately, that is a retirement for Enzo Smith. Possible equipment failure. He did seem to struggle quite a bit, so that could be if you're struggling with the force feedback on your wheel. It's almost like you're driving blind, so wondering whether that could have been a similar related issue. So now just trying to find... So Rob van der Heever and Sean Willefee, I don't know how they found one another, but at the back of the pack they've actually found themselves a little bit of a battle, which is quite a nice thing for the drivers, especially if you've made a few mistakes in the race. It's always a bit of a rough one if you make a few mistakes and then you're destined to run alone for the majority of it. It's nice to find a bit of company along the way to at least keep you honest and keep you pushing as you drive on ahead. Ati Nagel and John Stewart, so the two Haas cars still close together, and he is absolutely gunning it for Stewart in front of him. So we've also got Duggan behind them. Don't expect them to really fight him too much if he gets up to speed. Ati now getting very close there to Stewart, side by side down the back straight. He's going to fall in back behind him. Doesn't want to lose that draft, doesn't want to open up the gap too much. Now's his time to go out the inside. Leaves a huge amount of room to his teammate, to Stewart there. Stewart a lot later on the brakes, but I'm wondering, it's unfortunately disappeared off the screen a little bit. That was very deep into the corner. Pretorius on the rear of Jude Stewart, so he's made a superb recovery here, and now has the Ferrari to deal with. We'll see how he... Ooh, and that's a big defensive move there for Jude Stewart in the braking zone, no less. Bit of a naughty one there. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but you can see Pretorius caught off quite a bit there. Caught off guard. Had to really slam on the anchors to avoid that one. So he definitely knows he's in his opponent's head. That much is certain. But not something that you want to deal with at the start of your lap. So Stewart trying to jinx towards the inside a bit too late, and Pretorius has gotten past, but Stewart is going to come with the switch around. Pretorius trying to break the toe, not able to do so. Stewart is still going to stay on his toe, trying to dart out at the last minute. So this is going to be hard on the brakes. Oh, Pretorius finding some good rotation for the car there. Almost seemed to like pivot on a dime. Not exactly sure how Pretorius managed that, but he flicked the car's rear around. Got turned into the corner. Unfortunately, Stewart just had that inside line locked down as they were going into the corner. But a very intense battle here between the two of them. Almost feels like a bit of a Max and Lewis fight, to be honest. Just due to the sheer aggression of the defense that's happening. Ooh, and Pretorius unfortunately losing grip on the exit of the corner. He's going to have to battle with Briet again, as he's got it going now. Briet out just in front of him. And it's so easy to lose these cars on the surface. So Pretorius now with a lot to fight for. Stewart's able to reset and kind of get the pace going again. Gideon Jonkers out in front. He's having probably the loneliest race of them all. 8.5 seconds down the road, now going on to 9. And he's on the C3 tire, which is the harder compound. So he's going to have an absolute blast when it comes to the end of the race. Now Cornet pulling off to the side for Pretorius. He knows Pretorius has a good amount of pace. So he's not going to do too much to defend that. That almost seems like Pretorius might have that done under braking. Although Brit most definitely proving me wrong there. Kind of looking at acting a bit defenseless. And then just absolutely singling it around the outside with a monstrous pace here through the third sector. So some big surprises coming through here. Sorry, my voice is definitely getting quite dry with this race. It's a lot more exciting than the race we had in Sochi and Turkey. And actually didn't expect it to be this heat or to be this intense when I was looking at the track. It's actually delivering some interesting racing to say the least. The driver's mistakes definitely bringing everyone back together. Ooh, and that's Britt trying to run around the outside of Stewart there. That's not the sector to do it. I think that was Stewart being a bit slow through the sector. Britt unfortunately had to take some evasive maneuvers there. He's got Pretorius right on the back of him. Pretorius wants to go to the inside. Britt also wants to dive to the inside. Unfortunately, sees Pretorius at the last minute. And Pretorius getting a very slow exit there out of the hip, and that's hurt him quite a bit. And Macbeth is now looking at joining the party. Lots of zigging and zagging happening here. Very aggressive moves being done here. So Britt is going to send it up the inside of Stewart. Stewart now still has Pretorius to deal with behind him. And Britt actually able to make use of the chaos around him, securing himself second place. So he's definitely found a bit of a rhythm going into the second third of the, or sorry, the next third of the race. So 11 laps down. If you want to pit early, this is probably going to be the first logical point to do so. But it is a bit of a shorter race that we're running, so expect the drivers to either pit out of a battle or pit for a track position. Stewart trying to pick his defensive line. Pretorius getting enough space on the outside, but definitely not enough to have any attempt on Stewart's position as of yet. Ooh, and that is Pretorius poking the nose on the inside. Lots of pressure there onto the Ferrari driver. Unfortunately, I think Pretorius might have shot himself in the foot there. Macbeth is going to pick up the pieces, and he's going to look at the rear of the Alpine and see where there's an opportunity to pass. Pretorius being very aggressive with the Ferrari driver here. And Stewart just picking his line, absolutely sticking to it at the moment. I think he might have learned from that movement in the braking zone. Big scare for both drivers there. Oh, and Pretorius darting towards the outside. He's definitely trying to pick a line here. Lots of weaving all about. That's a massive lockup for Pretorius. And running very wide there through the corner. And Macbeth just getting ahead of him there. And now it is Macbeth and Stewart. Stewart unfortunately caught off to the outside. That's a big dive there from Macbeth. And he's gotten past into third position. Some very aggressive driving here from all involved. I think Stewart might have had a bit of a fright there. That was so quick. You don't expect a driver to just shoot past you like that, but Macbeth very confident on the brakes there. Risking quite a bit, but getting past Stewart now. I'm wondering whether those softer tires might be struggling. Pretorius again on the outside. He's not going to find the room. And that's such a difficult corner to attack into. You don't have any view of what's going on. I'm just going to actually go on board here with Pretorius, because while it looked rough from the TV cameras, it's probably going to look even more chaotic here from on board the car itself. But you can just see, you turn the steering wheel one way, you lose sight of the car, and the next moment he's on your nose. You just see how close the cars get. Massive lockup there for Pretorius. Unfortunately, that is going to cost them some time. We've got Stewart in the pits, so John Stewart deciding that he's going to come in for fresher tires, and that is an unexpected one. The C2 compound, so he is definitely going for the undercut. Interesting strategy. We saw, I think it was Ati Nagel running the C2s in maybe practice. So some of the drivers have been able to make them work, but it's going to be an interesting one to see where that puts Stewart in regards to Duggan. So keep an eye on those two. It's going to be an interesting one to see. Carpenter is now in for position, and he's still battling with Stewart. Stewart definitely giving him a good run for his money. You see he has a run up to that first corner. You can't see the apex of the corner. You've got that bollard kind of showing you where to go. By the way, there off to the left, you can see the observation tower just towering out as you go into the first sector. Just an absolute beautiful view of these cars going through the S's. Have a car quite close to them in front there. I'm not exactly sure whose car it is. Prix is just looking for a spot there. That is the car of Macbeth in front of Stewart there. Ooh, and Stewart very slow around the apex there. Prix had a good amount of speed, but the timing was just quite off. This is definitely not Pretorius' day. So now we've got Van Heeren into the pits as well. He's going to come out with a shiny new set of the C3 tires, but ooh, that's a bit naughty. Crossing the white line coming out of the pits, he can be very glad that there's no cars around him. That would have been a very serious penalty if someone were to catch him doing that. Remember, never cross the white line. Always listen to your crew chief. Prix definitely telling his crew chief to keep his mouth shut at this point and just leave him to it. A massive battle between these two cars, the Alpine and the Ferrari. And on the run to the first corner, and you can just see that closing speed between Pretorius and Stewart. Stewart is very slow into the corners, but Pretorius is just not able to find the space past. It's so difficult to get past the Ferrari. And again, through the S's, and Pretorius has the closing speed, but there's no room on track to get past. I mean, the racing line basically positions the car right in your path, and you can't go around the outside because by the time the corner switches back, the racing line is already switching across the track again. So Pretorius now managing his throttle. He's learning from his previous laps, and he's just not able to get that gap closed as quickly as he would want. Now you can see he's going to have a bit of a look. Position for the outside. He's gotten past to it a little bit. Ooh! That's a bit of a difficult one there. Pretorius doing very well to avoid Stewart's car. And a bit of a frustrating experience for him there. Sticking out the rear of the car as well. You can see and kind of feel his frustration right from here. Stewart doing everything that he can to stay in that position. And couldn't see that well from the camera angle. It did look like he had a fair amount of overlap. But I can be wrong. Both drivers jumping into the pits now. Ooh, and Pretorius missing the pits entry. That's a bit of a Lewis Hamilton Sochi moment. Stewart diagonally into the pits. Both drivers very careful. Thankfully, we do not have collisions in the pits themselves. So I think Stewart is going to come out in front of Pretorius just due to that mistake into the pits. And we'll see what he's going to come out with. He's going to fall behind Atinagel, and he's going to be on the C3 tyre. Pretorius still in the pits. Now Macbeth promoted into third position. So he's on the C4 compound. Still has to pit though. So he's going to have to open up that gap a little bit more if he wants to hold on to third position. 24 seconds between himself and Atinagel. So still a lot to fight for. Sean Willipier is now very close to Gerrit Pretorius as he's come out of the pits. C3 compounds for both of them, but one of them is quite fresh in comparison. So those tires are going to be nice and toasty out of the blankets. And you can see Pretorius already opening up that gap, just driving off into the distance. And he's going to have a battle on his hands. From the drivers that have pitted already, Jude Stewart is the highest running one in 5th position. And Pretorius is going to be absolutely gunning it to get back behind him. Now into the pits, Briat and Macbeth, both of them, as Jonkers is still going to continue running. So that's a C2 tyre for Conrad Briat, so he's back on his trusted hard tyre. Macbeth is going to come out with the C3, so we'll keep an eye on them. Now it all depends on Gideon Jonkers with the C3 tyre. And he's got what would seem like a free pit stop with 45 seconds between himself and Briat. So you would expect him to maybe come in a bit. He's got traffic in front of him. And he's definitely going to notice that. So we'll keep an eye to see what he's going to be planning. Macbeth just coming out in front of Atinagel, who still has to pit. And Jonkers says he's going to stay out. He's going to stretch these tires as far as he possibly can. And he is going to go on ahead. So Atinagel just on the rear of Macbeth. He's going to get some DRS for his troubles. Back wing of the car just opening up very nicely. And lots of drivers now on the C3 tyre, hoping to run it a little bit longer. Unfortunately, that's not going to be in Atinagel's toolkit for him. So we'll see whether he wants to come into the pits for a fresh set. Sorry, apologies, that sounded a bit wrong. Lap number 17, and Atinagel is into the pits and coming in for a fresh set. So we'll keep an eye where he ends up. Gerrit Pretorius is just coming onto the main straight, so he is definitely going to get past Atinagel in the pits there. So Sean Olivier, closest driver to Atinagel at the moment. Still has to pit though, so we might even see him diving into the pits. That is not going to be the case, so we'll keep an eye there to see. Atinagel has been in the pits for quite a while. And he's just coming out of them now. And they're into turn number 1, so just ahead of Willifier as he goes onto the first sector of the track. Now Jonkers out in front with a very comfortable lead. Lapping one of the Red Bull cars. And that is going to be now 46 seconds between himself and Britt. And he's going to be keeping an eye on the gap, most definitely. Trying to run this car as far as possible. By now, it's almost certain that he's going to go onto the softer C4 tyre. If he does that, or it might be a quick pit stop right at the end, or he's going to come in the next 3 laps, I think. That would seem like a good point to kind of mark in the race for yourself. Kind of splitting it in at the 2/3 mark. So I think that car in front of Gideon Jonkers is, yeah, there you can see Jonkers just getting past. That is Raymond Duggan right there. Bit of a rough race for him. But he still has a bit of an opportunity ahead of him, so Willipier still has to pit. And there's a possibility for Duggan to jump on ahead when Willipier decides to trade in his tires for a fresh new set. But yeah, 2 drivers left to pit. So we'll keep an eye there. And Duggan is into the pits. And unfortunately also runs very wide up the hill. So definitely a good case for practicing your pit entries. Although, sorry, there's an unexpected pit for Raymond Duggan. Now that I think about it properly. Still might get past Olivier in the pits, but if that is a pit for a penalty, then he's definitely going to lose a position there. John Stewart starting another lap here for lap number 19. And actually has lost him a little bit. They've got Van den Heever in between them, but I think it might be that C2 tyre with a bit less pace. So hopefully Stewart is able to claw back the pace a bit later in the race. But that decision to jump to the C2 tyres might have hurt him a little bit. Although John Stewart, Sean Williford and Raymond Duggan all on the C2 tyre now. Casper Atinaho also C2. So maybe not too bad of a tyre to be honest. I think come the end of the race we might see a bit more action. Speaking of action, Sean Williford on the fresher tyre trying to get past Stewart there. Very, very comfortably doing so. On the front, Gideon Jonkers now into the pits just as we jump to him. So we'll be keeping an eye on him. He's got 42 seconds to spare. Some cars are going to go on ahead and unlap themselves. Just looking at where Corne Breed is, he is in the heart of sector number 3. So plenty of time for Jonkers to get his car up and running again. And we might actually see a very, very sizable gap there. So Jonkers is out of the pits onto turn number 1. He's got some back markers behind him as he gets onto the track. And he has comfortably secured a 41-second lead. I can't remember the last time a Ferrari was that far ahead, to be honest. But yeah, he's absolutely flying. Sorry, I am making a mistake. This looks a bit more normal, thankfully. So the timing sheets were a bit behind, but that is a 20-second lead over Corne Breed behind him. Now coming down to 19. And I think Jonkers struggling a little bit with the outlap, but he is on the C4 tyres, so those things are going to kind of wear in very quickly, and he just needs to get used to the grip available to him. So quick reply there to Yummy on the YouTube channel. We are running the Race Sim Studio Formula 1 2020 chassis. An absolutely amazing car, and race. If you're driving in the Assetto Corsa, anything from a Race Sim Studio is definitely well worth your time. They've also got the new proposed cars for 2022. But yeah, we're running the 2020s, a bit more of a classical Formula 1 car before the rule changes confused the living daylights out of everyone involved. Bit of a correction there for Jonkers as he starts finding the pace on the C4 tyres, now opening up that lead back again to 22 seconds. Massive lead for the Ferrari driver. And he's going to be grinning from ear to ear if he can keep this up. So Corne Breed, yet again, he maybe not the fastest driver on track, but definitely one of the more consistent ones in regards to the championship as a whole. He's been able to keep his equipment all in working order, and he's been able to really keep the car in point scoring positions throughout the entirety of the season. So definitely doing well to keep himself where he currently is in the championship. Jason Macbeth also in a surprising third position after that race start that he had. So definitely a good recovery drive, because driving back all the way from position 8 at the end of, I think it was lap 3. So good recovery for him there. 10 laps left to go. And for some of these drivers, that is going to be a long 10 laps, but they're absolutely fighting for it at this point. Conrad Breert on the C2 tyres, so his tyres might last a little bit longer than Macbeth's tyres. But then Jonkers was running such a long stint on these C3s, on the mediums. So he's definitely going to have pace in hand on these red soft C4s by the end of the race. The drivers are spreading out a little bit more. So this is kind of the part of the race where everyone starts to settle into their positions and kind of think about preserving what they fought for over the course of the entirety of the race. That being said, some of the drivers are still within earshot of one another, and one such driver to have a bit of a lookout for is Gerard Pretorius. So he's gotten the gap between himself and Stewart down to 3 seconds, 2.7 now, and that is going to be a battle looming for the end of the race. If he can make it to Stewart, we're going to have some entertaining racing to watch by the end of it. I think it kind of culminated in that pit stop that Pretorius ran into the wall. You can just see the sheer frustration that he had from the battle between himself and Stewart. A very heated battle, lots of action going on screen. So definitely hoping that those two find one another again by the end of the race. Olivier and Raymond Duggan finding one another here at the back of the pack. 1 second between them. It was a bit less a few moments ago. So Olivier struggling slightly. But it is to be expected. 31 laps in these cars is a tall ask for a good sim racing driver on the best of days. And there's just so much concentration that's required for these cars, and it's not an easy track for them either. Lots of blind corners, lots of elevation changes, and I do feel like it's a good track for hot lapping. I think if you are racing other drivers in these cars, it becomes a bit more tricky. So just quickly showing you again, so you can see the steering wheel already just getting in the way of the track in front of you. And it's even more pronounced when you're in close proximity to a car around you. So definitely a big challenge, maybe a little bit different in something like a GT car, where you don't have a hunk of titanium sitting right smack bang in the middle of your view. But definitely interesting track. You can see there the red observation tower just looming over everything. Just Oliver unfortunately losing a bit of pace now compared to Raymond Duggan, as Duggan kind of gets going. And the battle that we've been waiting for is arriving right in front of our eyes. So Ventura is now 5/10 behind Stewart, and now we've got some action for the rest of the race. So this is going to be one hell of a heated battle. Both drivers really want to fight for that fourth position. And I think there's a bit of a rivalry that's built up over the course of the race. So Pretorius has most definitely informed his race engineer to keep an eye on Stewart in front of him, set him as his rival. Oh, and that's a mistake there from Stewart, as Pretorius narrowly avoids him. I'm not sure whether Pretorius was trying to give him a scare or whether he was focusing on other things. Yeah, that nearly ended badly for all parties involved. Warren Skimman still running there in the background, so he's sorted out his steering wheel and his pedals, and he's just showing massive amounts of grit and determination. I mean, he's 8 laps down, but he's still running in the race. He knows it's more about the racing now than anything else, and he's just having a bit of fun there. And it seems like he's found his teammate in the dying stages of the race. Ooh, and Stewart very aggressive on the throttle there on exit. Massive amounts of wheel spin. Tour is now able to open up that second gap between himself and Stewart. He's... I don't know whether he's going to be happy or satisfied. It's seeing how things have been going between the two of these, these two drivers. It's going to be interesting. Stewart now losing the back of the car there. Bit of an unsettling sight there. Another Alpine car around him. Morris trying to lap himself there. And Stewart is going to fall back a little bit, regroup, and I think his focus is now going to be on that 5th position, unless he's able to kind of reset his mind and get back on the pace. He's been a bit shaken by that incident a lap ago where Pretorius got so close to him. So I think, dare I say, some mind games going on between these drivers, almost similar, and I'm going to compare them to Max and Lewis again. I mean, Max and Lewis, Lewis kind of playing around with Max in free practice, trying to go for some overtakes. So, I mean, we don't expect racing to happen on a Friday, but that is what has been happening as the real world drivers try to get underneath one another's skin. I think there might have been some of that going on between Pretorius and Stewart. Very interesting to see. You don't normally see that with sim races. And the Alpines have found one another on track. So I think Skuman is not going to give Pretorius too much grief. He knows that his teammate has really battled for this 4th position. But Pretorius is also not going to risk holding up Skuman if Skuman is able to find the pace. So it might not look like much, but it almost looks like there's a battle between these two. It's going to be very interesting to see if Skuman is actually going to pursue the position. Well, I say position, pursue the attempt at unlapping himself. But Pretorius definitely can't afford a battle right now. He still has Stewart there off in the distance. Now a 4-second gap, so lots of breathing room. I think Stewart might have backed off the pace a little bit and focused on consistency to secure that 5th position. He definitely doesn't want to come under pressure from Gijsbert Attenagel. Leaving the two Alpines alone out in front. Also very, very alone is Gideon Jonkers. 20 seconds, well, I said 20 seconds, 17 seconds between himself and Corne Breed. Sorry, I apologize. I do need to be accurate about these things. I can't just go around running up and down willy-nilly. But yeah, Jonkers, absolute stellar race from start to finish. He was really doing well in that first lap. I think that might have been absolutely crucial. Now 4 laps left, and I'm going to leave him alone a bit because Raymond Duggan has found Rob van der Heever. So it is the two Honda powered cars. It is the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri. And that is Duggan going for the move on the inside. And van der Heever is definitely not going to fight back for that one, as they fall back into position, getting out of turn 1. So some very interesting racing. It's actually been quite an exciting track from a commentator standpoint. Very exciting to look at some of the incidents. But I think it's a bit chaotic from a driver's perspective. And I don't know how people do endurance races on here, to be honest. The track just doesn't seem wide enough at points. But yeah, also someone that I've not been talking about a lot is Jason Macbeth, and he's secured the 3rd position at the moment. That is one of the cars that's a lap down behind him. The next car down the line is Cara Pretorius. We know it's been fighting for that 4th position. There off in the background you can see the two Alpines having a bit of a Sunday drive already, I think. Yeah, Macbeth just doing a stellar job of getting himself into that third position. Corner Bread, of course, solid performance as of yet. Doing well. It seems like the moment he sticks on a hard tire on the car, good things happen. And he's been able to really hold on to that second position. Back to the Alpines. I want to see where Pretorius is in relation to his teammates. And I think Skuman has shaken him. So yeah, they're in the foreground. Skuman has gotten past and is getting on with the rest of his race. But yeah, difficult race here for Pretorius. Difficult entry to the pits as well. He's been able to claw back that fourth position. Also a very rough race there for Jude Stewart. Did quite well in the qualifying, I think, if I remember correctly. And he's had so many battles during the course of the race. Doing well at some point, kind of clawing his way up to second position. But then he lost touch with Jonkers, and I think by that point, that's kind of where the pace started to fall off a little bit for him. It's so difficult to really maintain a very solid pace if you don't have someone challenging you out in front of you. So that's always the difficult part about being a front runner or being the front runner in a train of cars. You only have yourself and your delta to gauge things off. So you need to be very critical of how your lap is going while you're still trying to stay ahead of the cars behind you. Now 29 laps down. Martin in a solid 6th position there, so definitely proving his car wrong. So definitely performing a little bit better than Mazepin would, I think. So very solid 6th position there for Mr. Nagel. Jonkers absolutely gunning it and cruising at this point. 24 seconds, so it must have been a mistake from Briat at some point. You can also see the gap between Briat and Macbeth has come down. So Jonkers can afford to lose quite a bit of time for every lap that he has left in this race. So he's just going to be absolutely cruising at this point. I mean, there is the bragging rights of winning by a very large margin, but I think you take a win with certainty over a win with bragging rights at any time of day. It does depend on the type of driver they are, but you can see from the delta that Jonkers is kind of slowing the car down just a little bit. I mean, he can afford to be that second slower. He's got the softer tire, so he just needs to make sure that this is consistent. 2 laps left of this race, and things are looking good for Mr. Jonkers out in front. Corne Breed now struggling a little bit more. Still holding on to second position quite well. And just managing that gap between himself and Macbeth. Focusing on consistency. I think Macbeth might be smelling an opportunity here. So he is going to keep his foot as close to the floor as he dares. And Breed now in the run up to the first corner. Doing well to hold on to the car there. I think cooling down for all of the drivers around the track. Skuman actually able to claw back one of the laps that were marked against his name. So he was 8 laps down at some point. Now back to 7 laps down. So definitely some nice efforts on his part as well to kind of get the best out of this race that he can in light of his equipment failures. So yeah, 30 laps almost done and dusted here for Gideon Jonkers. And we saw him battling it out with the first race winner we had at Silverstone. And he has forced his way all the way to the front here. Now it is almost like a cool down lap for him. I'm definitely not doing it on purpose, but I do realize that there is a major risk of commentator's curse. So I am going to do the best thing that I can and look away. Although I don't think I want to put Corne Britt under pressure as well. So let's keep an eye on Jason Macbeth, who's in a bit of a better position here. Were something to happen. So just keeping out of the way for him. Some nice driving there from both drivers. Macbeth now also on his last lap. It's actually interesting to see they've got Lando Norris's they've got Lando Norris's quadrant design for his helmets in the car. It's actually nice to see that they modeled the helmets for these skins as well. So Macbeth now surprisingly close to Corne Britt. There's been some difficulties for Corne in front of him, and we've got the last twisty sector of the track left, so possibly some chance of an overtake. I don't know, but Britt is going to be absolutely focused at the moment. This is probably one of the most difficult parts of the track to be going through. So he's got Macbeth to contend with. Jonkers takes the checkered flag, and Macbeth right there on the apex of the corner, and he's caught Britt off guard. And that's right at the end of the race. So Macbeth just needs to hold on to this position, but that's a bit of a shocker for Corne Britt. He wasn't expecting that aggression from Macbeth, and Britt trying to return in kind, not able to, and he spun out the car. Pretorius is thankfully a bit further down the road, so Britt coming home in third position, but man, that aggression from Macbeth right at the end of the race. Difficult one. Pretorius coming across the line in fourth. He's going to be happy with that one. You can see his teammate Pretorius there. Skuman there, also coming across the line. Atin Archel, Jude Stewart securing fifth position, and then Atin Archel is going to be coming across the line in sixth. Seventh, we've got Raymond Duggan, and then Richard van der Heefer in eighth, Sean Willifier in ninth, John Stewart in 10th, and of course Marius in 11th position. So intense race all the way to the end, and I'm actually going to see if we've got some drivers there, because I really want to hear what they've had to say about this whole thing. So we'll just quickly go to the interview room, and I will be back as soon as possible. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some of the drivers lined up for us. And first, I am going to pull in Gideon Jonkers. Well-deserved victory for him there. So we'll quickly have a chat to see what it was like from his perspective. Welcome, Gideon, and massive congratulations on that race. You were probably gripping the wheel extremely tightly there by the end of it. what was that like from your perspective? And take us through that first few laps of the race. I mean, it seemed very chaotic from everyone's perspective.
Yeah. Thank you. The first few laps were crazy. Um, I just tried to avoid any carnage. As you could see, I actually lost, I think, about 3 or 2 places, and then um, they started spinning out in front and crashing into each other. And to be honest, I was really lucky to avoid it. And from there, Jude, my teammate, was leading the race, and Raymond was in front of me. And I basically catched up because Raymond made a mistake, and then me and Jude did switched, and then I was starting to make a gap in front, and I think Jude was actually heavily defending Cornay and for Raymond, I mean Gerard at the back, because I could see in the real time they were really, really close for like a lot of laps, and I was just making that gap while he was defending, I think. And I think after that gap, I basically had a whole pit stop on them, and from there I just drove it home. Yeah.
I mean, you came out of the pits with a 20 seconds lead over the next driver. I mean, that's I don't know when a Ferrari was that far ahead, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Cornay was having some issues with his equipment because he didn't have as much consistency as I did. So yeah, well done to everyone.
Yeah, that was definitely very tricky, and as you say, it was a difficult track to keep the consistency up, and possibly some equipment troubles for all of the drivers involved. From your side, any fans that were watching for you, any people supporting you, they want to give a shout out for?
Well, actually, tonight, very sadly, nobody is watching. So I'll just do a shout out to Jude for really helping me in the race, and I think that's it.
Yeah, Jude was absolutely fighting tooth and nail for it there. I'd say in the middle part of the race, definitely had a lot to deal with. So he was definitely giving it his absolute all. Um, Gideon, thank you so much for your time. And hope you have a good one and enjoy the qualifying tonight.
Yeah, yeah, late tonight. Yeah, thank you, and goodbye, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Right, and then another man of the hour that I want to pull in with me. Welcome, Mr. Macbeth, Jason Macbeth, and congratulations on that. Um, I want to say third position, and it happened so quickly at the end, but massive congrats for that second position. Just first, take us through that move right at the end because it was over before we blinked. You were absolutely just gunning it there for Gordon Briet right at the end.
Yeah, so I saw on like the data because I didn't have the real time on, so I saw that he just like I'm not sure what happened, but I caught him a lot, and I just pushed my hardest to get as close as I could to him, and obviously try and have a shot for second, and I got almost within range, but then that left-hander, I thought I was within range, and I just sent it, and I hoped for the best. I think I got it down clean enough. I try to leave as much space as I can, but yeah, I just pushed my hardest to get to it.
Yeah, from what I saw, it looked quite clean. Granted, it was extremely quickly, so I think everyone involved just got a massive fright. But well driven. I mean, you had a very rough start. I mean, qualified really well, and then rough start there. The first few laps of the race. Just take us through your thoughts on that because man, there was chaos all around the field.
Yeah, so I had a good start. I got the lead, but I had a stupid mistake, and I just got in the power way too early, and I like half spun, and I sort of corrected it, and then I think I was down in sixth. Then the next corner, I think someone spun and hit me. Then I think that put me down last. My thoughts at that time was just try get on with it to see how it turns out. And I think I got up to someone, and I passed a couple guys, then I spun again, and then I thought it was over, but I just carried on pushing to see how it could happen. Because then obviously everyone else had some spins and crashes and everything. And then even up until the pit stops, I thought that it was maybe possible, and then yeah, I just everything came through as I would liked it.
Yeah, it almost feels like you pulled a bit of a Sergio Perez on us here, just driving from the back of the field back to the front. Um, Granted, I think yeah, no, well, Perez with Bahrain last year. He was kind of diving into the pits and then starting from the back, but massive job well done on that on the drive back. I mean, it just shows the amount of focus he was really putting in on the track this week. In terms of consistency, because I mean, you had to have that consistency for the rest of the race. Were you practicing the track a lot? Because it seemed like a very difficult track when it came to consistency as a driver.
So yeah, well actually I only decided to do the race yesterday, so I actually started practicing at like let's say about 10 p.m. last night, and I did a couple laps then, and I just been doing a couple laps throughout the day, just doing minor setup changes and stuff. But I mean, I don't think you need more than let's say 2 days of practice to get like in tune with it. I mean, this is a really challenging track, and but I think once you get the hang of it, it's all right. But you just always have to watch the throttle.
I definitely agree with you there. The throttle catching out quite a few of the drivers here, and I think that might have been what happened with Conor Brits on the last corner, as he was trying to fight back to get that position. But yeah, massive job well done, and thank you so much for your time. From your side, any supporters watching, any people that you want to give a huge thanks to for supporting you?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to my mom and dad for always supporting me and always watching.
That's awesome stuff. It's always nice getting the parents involved. Um, Thank you so much for your time, Jason, and best of luck for the next round. I think we are going to Bahrain next, due to the fact that we don't have a Assetto Corsa version of the Mexican Grand Prix, so that's going to be an interesting one. But the best of luck, and hopefully all goes well with the preparation.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Also thanks a lot for commentating and everything. So yeah, thanks.
Always a pleasure. Right, so that's it for the driver interviews. A few other drivers that I would have loved to speak to, but unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to get a hold of them. Some of them just want to get out of the sim, just want to maybe stretch their legs a little bit. It is tough with these long races, especially if you run it in something like VR. It's a bit disorientating when you come out of the sim. But right, coming to the end of our broadcast, if you've stuck with us up to this point, thank you so much. Really appreciate it that you've stuck with us so far. If you want to get involved, there is definitely space on the grid. All depends on the race administrators on whether you can join. But if you want to get involved in the racing that's available at Sim Experience South Africa, you can just check out the Discord link in the description and go join there. Awesome community of South African race drivers. There are quite a few leagues going on at the moment, and some new ones in the pipeline. Speaking of which, we are going to Bahrain on the 6th of November. Unfortunately, we do not have a version of the Mexican Grand Prix by the looks of things. So we'll be running the circuit in the Middle East. I think, yeah, next one is the Mexican one. Then, if you're an R Factor 2 driver, Thunder Tuesdays or Thursdays, just whatever's on screen, you'll just have to jump back a few seconds. So definitely some R Factor 2 race goodness going on. We do have quite a few drivers that are big fans of the simulator, so if you're looking for R Factor 2 racing, definitely the place to be. And then a few things in the pipelines are worth checking out. And of course, the Formula One as well. If you're looking for some racing action to watch, you're also welcome to follow the YouTube channel and look at the past few races. We just had the MX5 season that concluded, and then before that, we had the granddaddy of all of the seasons that we had. It was the Aussie V8 series. Awesome racing that we had there. So you're also welcome to check out that. Of course, we've got the previous Formula One races for your viewing pleasure. From me, Johan Carinas, thank you so much for supporting us and watching us. And hope you have a lovely evening. Hope you enjoy the qualifying that's going to come up later tonight. Hopefully you've got some hot chocolate or coffee to keep you awake through it all. And definitely hope that you enjoy it. Thank you so much.